What's up, everybody? My name is Robbie. You are watching Geek Levelation, and today we're going to talk about my first impressions of Hasbro's new Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Ladies and gentlemen, Hasbro has arrived. When we learned a few months ago that Hasbro acquired Power Rangers from Saban, everyone was a little bit nervous, but I think they were really excited. We've now seen the Lightning Collection, which was released a few weeks ago, and now we've seen the first episode of Beast Morphers, and it is equally amazing. So the first thing I want to mention is that Beast Morphers is already very reminiscent of some of our favorite Power Rangers seasons that have come before. Just like in Power Rangers SPD and Power Rangers RPM, the Beast Morphers Power Rangers were also put together by an organization or agency. So it's not like some mystical power summoned them and gave them the abilities to become Power Rangers. The Power Rangers Beast Morphers were manufactured. And I'm okay with that. RPM is actually one of my favorite Power Rangers seasons ever. Now, the thing that I thought was interesting about this idea is regularly in movies, especially superhero movies or anything that has to do with science fiction, there's always some type of do-gooder, scientist or technician, someone who's trying to do good, and then the government wants to take whatever that is and make it a weapon. And usually the government or whatever organization is the bad guy. They actually address this a little bit. The mayor himself expresses his concern about making new Power Rangers. He even references some old villains, some of our old fan favorites, Rita, Sledge, Galvanax. Well, Galvanax actually wasn't really one of my favorites, but I really did like Rita and Sledge. Another thing that was reminiscent of past seasons is we have our new Bulk and Skull characters, who are now Betty and Burke, brother and sister, and their theme song specifically sounds very much like the Bulk and Skull theme song. I don't know if that was done purposefully, I think it was. Something else that was reminiscent of a previous series, and I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they probably did, is that the individual who was chosen to be the leader is actually kind of a bully, and that is very similar to Jared from Jungle Fury. Now, if you remember, Jared wasn't going to become a Power Ranger himself, but he was supposed to become a Paishuan Master and the leader. In Beast Morphers, Blaze is one of the cadets who's supposed to become the Red Power Ranger. But just like Jared from Jungle Fury, they're both possessed by an evil entity and become an antagonist. Now, another specific callback to Power Rangers RPM, and this is a big one, is the fact that the main antagonist is a virus. In Power Rangers RPM, we had the Venjix virus, and in Power Rangers Beast Morphers, we have Evox, who's represented by a digital cobra snake. So now, why am I mentioning all these callbacks to previous seasons? Well, there's a very simple explanation for that. I appreciate it. Something that I think is very smart on Hasbro's end is that they're taking something over that has been around for 25 years and has some die-hard fans. So they're giving us little Easter eggs and doing things that we're familiar with so that we can relate to this new show that is still being marketed to children now. And let's not forget, Hasbro has been in this game for just as long as Saban and Bandai have, and had some very successful movie and toy franchises themselves. So if anyone was going to take over Power Rangers, I'm really glad that Hasbro did. Now, as for the episode itself, I think it was a great premiere. They really solidified the foundation of where all of our Rangers, our allies, and our enemies come from, which I think in some previous seasons they didn't do as well. I like all the characters, I think that they all make sense, and I think they're all very different. And I'm specifically looking forward to seeing the character development of two specific characters, Devin and Zoe. Because we kind of already know who Ravi is, right? He was a cadet, he was supposed to be on the team. But Devin's curiosity and his genuine understanding of people is what's going to make him become a great leader. And I really like the idea that Zoe didn't make it all the way through the cadet program, because that gives us our underdog story, where she does have these great ideas which are commended by the mayor himself. And I think we're going to start seeing those ideas in motion. Fighting sequences were great. I really like that they used the environment around them as much as they possibly could, especially when the Rangers were discovering their animal DNA. And something to point out, and this actually does call back to RPM again, is I loved how they explained the teleportation process, and here's why. In every Power Rangers show we've ever seen, the Rangers are always pulling weapons out of nowhere. Like, where are these weapons coming from? How do you get them? Like, they're not running around with these weapons on, but all of a sudden, they'll have their weapon in their hands. And in Power Rangers Beast Morphers, we actually have an explanation of how those weapons make it to the Rangers. Now, this is a cool idea just in general to see, like, oh, so that's where the weapons come from, but it also is very reminiscent of Dr. K explaining all of the Sentai tropes and all the things that we know are Power Rangers tropes. It's kind of like when she's explaining all of that stuff to the Rangers. Like when Ziggy asks, hey, why is there a gigantic 6-foot explosion behind me every time I morph? And why do we actually have to call out RPM getting gear when we morph? Dr. K explains that, kinda like Nate explaining where the weapons come from. So if there was anything that I could ask for a little bit more from this premiere episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers is that Ravi was a cadet with 2 people that he trained with, I'm sure regularly. One of them was his girlfriend. Zoe didn't make it all the way through the cadet program. They don't really explain why, but she didn't. And Devin is just a stranger to him. So I do understand why at the end of the episode, he is okay with them because they did save his life. But at the same time, you would think that he would be a little bit more apprehensive and a little bit more hesitant to trust them. Because look back at like Power Rangers SPD, when Sky, you know, he wanted to be the Red Ranger because his father was the Red Ranger, but he ends up being blue, and this criminal, these 2 criminals come and they're on his team and he's not okay with it yet. They have to earn his trust, and I think that there's a lot of character development in that story. I feel like we kind of just rushed some character development, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's something that we could have worked with a little bit more further into the season. And then on the same note, you have Commander Shaw, who is the head of Grid Battle Force, who has trained these cadets, and she's just like, yeah, you guys are great, you're Power Rangers now. I am totally okay with this. I mean, look at you, you're a trespasser and you didn't make it through the cadet program. This is gonna be great. Again, I think it's just a missed opportunity of where we could have had some great relationships developed further into the series. But that's it. Those are my first impressions of Hasbro's Power Rangers Beast Morphers. It is a thumbs up. And I'm completely looking forward to seeing where they take their characters, what happens to Blaze and Roxy, where we're going with this, and I am obviously definitely interested to see when Gold and Silver come in. By the way, Nate's last name is Silva. Really quick, I don't know if they're going to do it like this, but this would be really cool. If you have watched GoBusters, which is the Sentai counterpart to Power Rangers Beast Morphers, the Silver GoBuster is actually a robot. He's not human. So it would be really cool, since Nate is the geeky character and he's very good with technology, if Nate actually doesn't become the Silver Beast Morpher Ranger, if he pilots the robot from the headquarters in some type of, VR type of experience, and that's how they actually have the Silver Beast Morpher go out into the field. That would be really cool. Because I think it would be a shame to not include some of the Sentai footage where you see the Silver robot. So Ranger fans, if you like this video and you want to see more of them, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and follow me on all the social media networks. I think I'm the most active on Instagram. And what were your thoughts on the world premiere episode of Power Rangers Beast Morphers? Were there any other callbacks to some of our past seasons that you recognize that I did not, that maybe I didn't mention? Leave them down in the comments.